I never liked working nights, but when the promotion came with a title and a modest bump in pay, I took it. Assistant Operations Manager. Sounded good on paper. The catch? I had to oversee a week of night shifts to get a feel for the 24/7 cycle at the warehouse. Nobody told me why the last night manager quit without notice. Nobody talked about the night shift much at all. The warehouse was a hulking metal box on the edge of the industrial zone, 2 stories high, barely lit and surrounded by empty lots. By day, it buzzed with forklift engines and shouted orders. By night, it was a tomb. On my first night, I parked under the lone, flickering lamp in the lot. A dense fog had rolled in, swallowing the street behind me. As I walked in, my footsteps echoed too loudly, like the building was listening. Inside, I met Ramon, the only other person scheduled for nights. He was older, skin like worn leather, and he spoke in clipped sentences, mostly in Spanish. He gave me a nod and returned to his tiny station, eyes glued to the CCTV monitors. There were 12 screens, each showing a corner of the warehouse or exterior. Most of them were still. The first 2 hours passed quietly. I walked the floor, checked the inventory tags, made notes. The silence felt too heavy, like it pressed against my ears. Occasionally, I'd hear a faint thud from the far end of the warehouse, but chalked it up to settling metal, maybe rats. Then, at 1:17 a.m., I heard something strange. A soft scrape, then another, like something being dragged across the concrete floor. I froze. "Ramon?" I called, but my voice didn't carry far. I pulled out my radio, no response. The scraping stopped. I walked slowly toward the back corner of the warehouse where the noise seemed to come from. My flashlight danced across shelves, stacked boxes, steel pillars. Nothing. I was about to turn back when I saw it. A smear. Something dark and thick dragged in a long line across the floor, disappearing between rows of shelving. My stomach turned. Blood? Oil? I leaned in. It didn't smell like either. It smelled sweet. Sickly sweet, like rotting fruit. A sudden buzz crackled through my radio. Static, then a voice, low, whispering. "Don't look." I jerked back, heart in my throat. "Who is this, Ramon?" I snapped, but only static replied. I ran back to the security office. Ramon was gone. The monitors were still on, but the chair was empty. On the middle screen, I saw myself standing outside the office, but something was behind me. I whipped around. Nothing. A chill passed through me. I replayed the footage, but the image blinked, glitched. It was gone. The timestamp had jumped forward 2 minutes. I hadn't moved. I checked my phone. The time was right, and so was the temperature. It had dropped. It was freezing suddenly, my breath puffing out in clouds. In a warehouse. I rubbed my arms and turned to leave when a loud bang rang through the building. Then another. Closer. Footsteps, running? No. Galloping, fast, erratic. I stepped into the hallway and saw it. Something fast and dark darted across the corridor at the far end. No features, no face, just a blur of movement and limbs bent the wrong way. I ran. I don't know why I didn't just run out the door, get in my car and leave. But fear does strange things. I ran deeper into the warehouse, heart pounding in my ears, vision tunneled. I heard whispers again. "You see it now, don't you?" I stumbled into the break room. Lights flickered as I slammed the door behind me and pushed a table in front of it. My chest heaved. On the wall hung a whiteboard. Scribbled across it in thick marker were words I hadn't seen earlier. "It follows those who watch." I blinked. Another line appeared. "You're not supposed to be here." The marker trembled, moved. It wrote itself. I backed away as the marker clattered to the floor. There was a sound, laughter, small, childlike. But it was coming from inside the vending machine. I turned slowly. Inside the machine, the reflection of the glass showed me, but standing directly behind my reflection was a tall, spindly shape with glowing eyes. I screamed. The glass shattered. I don't know what hit it. I didn't stay to find out. I ran again, this time toward the emergency exit. I smashed the push bar. Nothing. It didn't open. Then overhead, the warehouse lights shut off one by one. Boom, boom, boom. I was in the dark. Then in the near silence I heard crying. Ramon. I followed the sound. Found him crouched near the loading dock, eyes wild, whispering over and over. "No Myers, no Myers, no Lomires. Don't look at it." I grabbed his arm. "We have to go." He shook his head. "It feeds on being seen." And then I understood. It wanted attention. It wanted me to follow, to notice, to react. And I had. That's why the cameras glitched. That's why the voice said not to look. The thing needed to be seen to exist. The more I saw, the more it grew. I closed my eyes, held on to Ramon, who walked, slowly, blindly, bumping into boxes, walls. I kept my eyes shut, using only the feel of air and sound to move. Then I felt it, breathing, right next to me. It was tall. It exhaled slowly, like steam. Then, in a voice like crumpled paper, "You looked." I screamed, eyes still shut, and ran blindly. I hit the wall, fell, crawled. Ramon wasn't behind me anymore. I opened my eyes. I was at the front office. The door was open. My car was outside. I didn't think. I didn't look back. I ran. Drove until the fog cleared and the lights of the city hit my windshield. That was 4 nights ago. I haven't been back. I quit. They say Ramon's missing. So's the night footage. Corrupted, they claim. But I know what I saw. And sometimes, when I'm walking past mirrors or looking through windows at night, I think I see it again. Not directly, but there, waiting. I try not to look, because I know what happens when you do. My name's Darren, and 3 nights ago I took a temp job at a gas station off Route 46. Middle of nowhere. Just trees, roadkill, and one flickering neon sign that said "Open" in a place that felt anything but. I was supposed to cover the graveyard shift, midnight to 8 a.m. The manager, Rick, handed me a set of keys and a checklist printed from what had to be a Windows 98 machine. "No one really comes in after 2, he said, lighting a cigarette even though we were standing next to the pumps. "Just lock the door after 1. You'll be fine. Don't wander out back." He didn't wait for a response. Just got in his truck and peeled off into the dark like he couldn't leave fast enough. I settled in behind the counter. The place was dead quiet, except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights and a buzzing vending machine that occasionally hiccuped like it was choking. The layout was simple. A single aisle with dusty snacks, a cooler filled with flat sodas, a grimy restroom in the back, and a monitor above the register cycling through 4 security camera feeds. Front lot, inside aisle, storage room, and the alley out back. It was boring, sure, but easy money. I cracked open a bag of chips, leaned back, and watched the screen. That's when I noticed something. The alley cam glitched for a moment, just static, but when it cleared, I could swear there was a shape. Low to the ground, not moving. Just there. I blinked. Gone. I chalked it up to bad wiring, or a possum. I didn't want to think raccoon. They freaked me out. Around 1:20 a.m., the front door opened. No chime, no footsteps, just the faint click of the lock. I looked up, and it was still closed. Deadbolt still turned. No one there. But in the monitor, the aisle camera showed someone standing between the shelves. My breath caught. I flicked my eyes to the real aisle. Empty. Back to the screen. The figure was gone. I stood, heart thudding, and walked the aisle. Nothing. The air back there felt colder, though, like the heat didn't reach that part of the store. Then I heard it. A whisper. Just a single word. "Darren." Soft. So soft I almost thought it was in my head. But I hadn't told Rick my name. Boredom turned to paranoia. I locked the doors early, drew the blinds. There was a storage closet in the back that I hadn't checked yet. Mostly cleaning supplies and a stack of ancient VHS tapes with black labels. Handwritten dates. One was marked 11:00 night shift, do not erase. Out of morbid curiosity, I popped it into the tiny TV VCR under the counter. Grainy footage of the store, same angle as the security feed. The timestamp flickered as hours passed with nothing. Until about 3:17 a.m., the back alley door creaked open. No one opened it. It just drifted. Then something crawled in. Not walked, crawled. Like a man on all fours, but the limbs were wrong. Bent too many ways, skin pale and sagging. It dragged itself behind the shelves, right where I had seen the figure earlier. The footage ended with the screen going black and the faint sound of scraping, like nails on tile. My hands were shaking. I ejected the tape. My thumb was bleeding. I'd bitten the nail clean off without noticing. 3:17 a.m., the power cut out. I sat in pure blackness. Only the red glow from the exit sign gave me any sense of direction. The security monitor snapped on by itself, just static. Then, a face, right up against the glass of the outside camera. Eyes rolled back, mouth stretched wide like it was screaming, but I couldn't hear a thing. I dove under the counter, clutching the only thing I could find, a rusted tire iron from the lost and found bin. The door handle rattled. Then came the scraping. Long, slow drags along the outside walls. I stayed curled up under the counter, whispering to myself, "It's not real. It's not real. Then I heard the restroom door creak open. From inside, I ran. I didn't think. I just bolted out the employee door into the back alley, night air slapping me awake. The alley was empty, but something shimmered in the corner, like heat haze. A faint outline of something crouched low, unmoving, and suddenly it spoke, though the mouth didn't move. Every shift, "You feed me." I froze. My mouth went dry. "What are you?" I managed to choke out. It straightened, rising higher than a man should. Its head bent sideways like it didn't fit on its neck. "Just another employee, like you." It stepped forward and vanished. When I turned to go back inside, the alley door was gone, just brick wall where it had been. I woke up on the floor behind the counter. Morning light poured in through the windows. Birds chirped like nothing had happened. Rick stood over me, sipping coffee. "Rough first night?" he said with a smirk. I tried to speak, but my throat was raw. "You get used to it?" he said. "They all do." He nodded to the monitor. One of the screens showed footage of me, standing still in the aisle, but I wasn't moving. I just stood there, watching. Then I turned my head and stared directly into the camera. My reflection grinned. I didn't. That was 3 nights ago. I haven't left the station. Every night I try. Every door leads back inside. Sometimes I see myself on the monitor, and sometimes I'm not alone. If you ever find yourself on Route 46 and see a gas station with a flickering open sign, keep driving, because I'm still here, and I'm hungry. I never used to mind staying late at the office. The silence was oddly comforting. No phones ringing, no coworkers chatting about weekend plans, just the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the clack of my keyboard. But last Tuesday was different. Our department had just moved into the newly renovated 10th floor of the building. It smelled like fresh paint and new carpet, chemical and fake. Everything was sleek, clinical, a little too pristine. Management was excited. "Top floor, best view," they said. It was nearly 8 p.m. when I finally looked up from the glowing monitor. Outside, the city was a web of light stretching into the dark. My coworkers had filtered out hours ago. I hadn't noticed. I saved my files and shut my laptop. That's when I heard it. Click, a sharp, deliberate sound, like a door latch engaging. I turned toward the glass conference room. Empty. We have motion sensor lights, and one across the room flickered on. I assumed it was a glitch. New building after all. Still, my stomach clenched. I stood up, slinging my bag over one shoulder. As I stepped into the hallway, I paused. The air was different, heavier, as if someone had just walked past me. I held my breath. Nothing. I headed toward the elevators. The hallway was lined with identical office doors, all closed, except one. Office 10F13, just barely ajar. I didn't remember seeing it open earlier. I slowed down, curiosity gnawing. My reflection wavered in the narrow glass panel. I leaned in. "Hello?" Nothing. I pushed the door. It creaked open just enough for me to glimpse the inside. Empty. Just a desk, a chair, a stack of paper. Then I noticed there were scratches on the inside of the door, long, thin, as if something had clawed at it. A chill trickled down my spine. I shut the door. The elevator dinged behind me. I turned, relieved. The doors slid open. No one stepped out. The elevator was empty, completely still. Just the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and a message scrawled across the back mirror in black marker. I never left. I stepped back, heart hammering. The lights overhead flickered. A low hum vibrated in the air, rising in pitch. I turned and walked, fast, toward the emergency stairs. As I passed another office, I caught movement. A silhouette, just for a second. Inside, the chair was slowly spinning. Nope. I pushed open the stairwell door, metal groaning. The stairwell was dark, lit only by the red glow of the exit signs. The air smelled of dust and something else, something coppery. I descended quickly. By the time I reached the 7th floor, the sound started. Tap, tap, tap. Not footsteps, fingertips, drumming lightly on concrete. Behind me, I stopped. The tapping stopped. I forced myself to keep going. But the moment I moved, it resumed. Closer. Tap, tap, tap. I broke into a run, my breath echoing off the concrete walls. I burst out onto the 5th floor, nearly tripping. The corridor was pitch black. I turned to head back into the stairwell and froze. The door was gone. No handle, no seams, just smooth concrete. I wasn't breathing anymore, just trembling. A click behind me. The lights flickered on, then off, then on again, and someone was standing at the end of the hallway. Far, but facing me. Still. A man, woman, I couldn't tell. Just wrong proportions. arms too long, head tilted too far, as if it didn't understand how to wear a human body. I ran. Door after door, locked, until one gave way, Office 5D02. I slammed it behind me, chest heaving. It was colder in here, not from AC, wrong cold, like standing in a basement where the dead are kept. Then I saw it, on the whiteboard. Welcome back. I backed away, right into a chair that wasn't there a moment ago. I turned, but the room was empty. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Message, turn around. I froze, another buzz. Now I slowly turned. Nothing. Until I looked down. Shadows pooled under the desk. Not cast by light, moving on their own, curling up the legs like smoke, reaching. I stumbled out of the room. Every light in the hallway went out. I ran blindly until a door appeared. Exit. I slammed it open and found myself back on the 10th floor. But different. The windows were gone, the desks warped, melting into the floor. A low groan like metal bending under pressure filled the air. Then, whispering, thousands of voices, all saying the same thing, overlapping. He stayed too long. And then I saw me, sitting at my desk, staring blankly at a screen. I approached, handshaking. The figure slowly turned. My face, but the eyes, hollow, black, endless. It smiled. You're late. Suddenly, everything snapped. Light exploded in my vision. Pain screamed through my skull. I woke up on the floor of my office. Morning sun streaming in. Coworkers moving around like nothing had happened. Rough night, one joked, nudging me. I gave a weak smile. Yeah, guess I overdid it. But as I stood, I noticed the scratches on my office door, and in the reflection of the glass for just a second, something moved behind me.